You fucking worked for it. But putting the intention out there makes it come to you a lot faster, and ultimately along the way, you find that you're more grateful for what you already have. That maybe some of the things you thought you wanted didn't bring you happiness. That brings me to another thought about alchemy. You know, I was fascinated with the occult and studying what alchemy was when I was younger, and I still am to this day. But I hit a realization, an epiphany in my, discussions, listening to, you know, Manly Hall and others ramble on about how the ancients would, spend half of their lives in these little rooms trying to convert lead into gold. Many of them may have succeeded, or they may have just convinced people they succeeded. But what I took away after all these years of learning about this was that it was never about the gold. The realization, the metaphor that was in there was, your situation is lead, you can turn it into gold by the power of intention. As cheesy as that sounds, any philosopher worth his weight in gold, pun intended, would eventually realize that what he's doing is a metaphor for his real life, to not have to make, getting the riches, getting that insight that it's not about wealth, it's not about power. There are certain things that are very difficult for man to understand, and this is why we have allegories and archetypes and metaphors, so we can try to explain these things to each other and try to understand them ourselves. And I'm constantly learning new things each year about what's true, what's real, and whether it even fucking matters in the end. But as I was saying, the Incas, with their beliefs, it was funny. When the Spanish came, they had so much gold. I mean, they had an entire room plated with gold, all walls, ceiling, floor, everything, hammered out like these, 10-kilo sheets. They had a lot of gold. They filled a room that was 20 feet by 17 feet by like 8 feet, full of gold in like a short period of time, just for ransom to get their leader back, which was, I believe, Pachamacho or Pahamacho, something like that. But it was when Pizarro came in. Anyhow, they even had like caps on their, capstones that were wrapped with gold. And when they were asked about it, they said, "Oh, you want some? Here." And they just gave them a bunch. The thing was, to them, it wasn't even used as trade. They were a socialist society. They would bring food out to the people that needed it, who were working in certain areas. They extended like 1,000 miles. It was a huge area. And here he was, amazed that they're just giving him gold, but to them, they said it's the sweat of God. To them, it was religious. And even then, they wanted to share it. And the idea was that everybody should partake in this beautiful thing that, resembles the sun, which is their God. Fascinating look into human nature that all the Spanish wanted to do was take the gold and go back to Spain, which, a couple of years later ended up doubling their coffers. They went from like 80 tons to like 190 or something, over doubling all the gold in Spain just from the Inca Empire. And that was a nasty endeavor there. But during that time, they also burned all their parchments because the Spanish were Christians. And how dare they have any of these beautiful parchments? I believe there's only one that survived. And they were done on, I think, animal hide. So here we are, the modern day. Everything that we've ever been able to find and scrape together, all these, all the way up to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and all of these things being posted online, all of these ideas, belief systems, different theories about what's true. Fuck, we got Scientology now. I mean, yeah, when I was a kid, L. Ron Hubbard, that whole thing was just kind of a joke. I mean, they were still selling Dianetics on the commercials, his book. I used to see those commercials all the time. And here we are. People are they want to believe in something with a group so bad that this is why people form religions. And I want to make a note on that. It's okay. Just be careful that whatever system you choose to believe, it doesn't come at the cost of another group. There are many inclusive belief systems which say, you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe. And I think that these can be great benefits to one another. Because some religions may fit one area, some may fit another. But I think we owe it to ourselves to come together on these things. This is why I mentioned psychedelics. The rise of psychedelics is strong right now. When I was younger, I couldn't even talk about them. I would get my, videos deleted, and didn't ever care about demonetizing. I don't monetize, but all of my podcasts now, I can talk about what I want, but psychedelics don't seem to be off the table anymore. And I think that's fantastic. We have psilocybin therapy, ketamine therapy. By the way, that's a fantastic one. A lot more visual than a person may realize, but these things should be done properly. And I mention them because for anyone who's doubting their belief system or seeking to understand what belief they may have or want to have, but just not had that exposure, this is why a psychedelic journey can give you reinforcement and really convince you one way or another how things kind of operate. I mean, let me just put this, it may be a delusion. There are people out there who have taken psychedelics who believe that in some crazy existential belief system that nobody else has ever mentioned. If that works for them, let them have it. Let them have it. As long as nobody's harmed. Because honestly, believing in absolutely nothing and believing in a static universe where everything is chance just doesn't sound very fun to me, and it doesn't sound very honest to me. I am not a person who found religion to escape the monotony of not believing in the fear. I've never had fear. I don't have fear about death or dying. As I heard Alan Watts had always said, it's just like before you were born. And that's pretty reassuring when you think about it. You won't know the difference, but maybe, just maybe you will. Because if you've ever been really deep into your mind, you realize that there's a state where your body is completely gone, but your mind is sharper than it's ever been. And you feel like you're home in a place that you've been before. DMT can often take a person to that place, and it changed their life completely. So any drug that can change your life for the better in one experience, something that people say is the most profound experience or one of them that they've ever had in their life, maybe is worth looking into if you're an adult and you're responsible. I think that it's something we could all benefit from, and I think it's time that we stop dismissing each other for our beliefs. There are certain beliefs that are just causing a lot of pain, especially in the world right now as I make this, and a war going on based on beliefs. But there's always one. And if there wasn't, it'd be a war based on beliefs of political lines, or a war based on beliefs about, land ownership. It's always something, and it's often disguised as religion. But I believe that people need religion. We just have to figure out how to make it work for them, or for all of us. And with that, I bid you farewell. Thank you all for visiting, for listening to the podcast. I have no sponsors. I don't want any sponsors in particular for my discussions that may have any bearing on what I say. The reason I don't put ads on my channel and don't worry about demonetizing. But if you'd like to contribute to the channel, the podcast, or the efforts, you can visit me at patreon.com/carpo719. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel with the same handle, 719, Carpo719, and if you're listening to or watching the video version, you're well aware of that, and the podcast is 15-minute free thinking. All the links are in the places. I want to say thank you for listening. It means a lot to have an audience, even if a few people care to listen. So if you're a regular listener, thank you so much. If you're a new listener and you made it this far, I appreciate you. I really do. So just have some gratitude for each other, and we'll make it out of this alive, one way or another, for a while.